the election. No, you're fine. Chair and vice chair. So from the interim, I will chair the meeting until you all are prepared to elect your chair and vice chair. So with that, I will call the meeting to order at 6:02 on July 6th. And if everybody could please rise and join me in the flag salute. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, next up is the roll call. Okay, Commissioner Cassidy. Commissioner Denson? Here. Commissioner Escuniani? Did I get it close?
Yes.
Okay.
Escuniani is fine.
Commissioner Garcia?
Here.
Commissioner Hummel? Commissioner Missouri? Sorry. Missouri. Okay. Commissioner Nahupi?
No-O-P-E.
No. One more time.
No-O-P-E.
No. Commissioner Town?
Here.
And Commissioner Young?
Here.
We have quorum tonight. So next up is the adoption of tonight's agenda. So can I get a motion to adopt this evening's agenda? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the agenda for tonight's meeting has been adopted. The approval of the minutes would typically be the next item on our agenda. If we click on the button, are the meeting minutes there?
Yeah, he's
Okay.
on now.
Okay. Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the last meeting's minutes from June 1? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes from the June 1, 2026 meeting, say aye. Any opposed? Okay. Next up, we have the staff presentation, which will work through the PowerPoint that we have will work through the majority of what is on the agenda for tonight. So we'll go ahead and bring that up.
Sure.
Steve and I are still getting used to technology. You're doing a great job for the meeting. Okay,
Right.
next slide. So the first is to talk about the different items that were on the proposed work plan. Oh, we just added a few extra slides. So city staff that are here tonight. Cynthia, we met last week or last month, and Steve. For tonight's meeting, we have discussion of a proposed work plan, the selection of the chair and vice chair, a parks overview, a general introduction of city parks, what we have in them, what the planned maintenance schedule is, what activities we program there, discussion of volunteer opportunities, and then beginning our King County Duvall Park advocacy strategy. And then at the conclusion of the meeting, if we have good for the order or anything that you all would like to add to the agenda for the August meeting, we'll make note of that. Make sure we keep a rolling agenda moving throughout our opportunities to meet. And so the first thing was just to take a look at the slides that we looked at last week, come up with any new ideas or new thoughts that you might all have in developing a work plan so that we can kind of get a list of activities that you all want to work on so that your meetings become more impactful and meaningful as we continue to meet throughout the year. So the first slide Steve put in, so Steve, I'll have you take a look at the infographic there.
Yeah. So I'm trying to make nothing new. So all the images that we're going to start with that are the basis of the parks information that the city has come out of the Parks, Trails, and Open Space Plan. So when Cynthia was talking about work planning, so the survey was very well participated in by the community. So again, we can change anything we want, but I figure it's a great starting spot. So these are some of the items that came out of the park plan. There's some survey work on what to do, you know, moving forward with parks. So I think revitalizing and working with our existing parks was one of the highest priorities. It's a great happy medium, right? We already have them. They're here. People know where they are, generally speaking. Most of them have had recent improvements or could use some improvements. So that prescription is then put into the park trails and open space plan on what that improvement might be. Redo the restroom, upgrade the playground structure, those kinds of things. And they're already spelled out in a list. It's just, how do we go about doing those items? When do we do those items? It's not Steve's priority, right? It's the community's priority. But without any real roadmap, we have a list of what we should be doing, but there's no real timeline tied to anything. So if something pops, like, boy, there's a lot of people who are here now who are in the 3 to 7 year old kid bracket. Like, maybe we should prioritize some of the upgrading some of the parks equipment in some of the smaller parks instead of something else. So I just put that in there to kind of get our juices flowing relative to who we are, where we are, what we've got to look forward to, and whatnot. So that's just kind of there to talk about helping us build our roadmap. And again, all that is in the park trails and open space plan. But two of the things that we have heard for sure, you know, activating the Little Big Rock Park, which is where the two big sequoias are at the south end of town, and then community outreach work for the county park. And
yeah,
hopefully everybody knows that it's not a city park. It is south of town by the Seattle Public Utility workshop across the highway on the east side. But that's down there, and we take a lot of heat and flat for that being what it is. So they have been more approachable recently. I don't know if that's a change in staffing or time or complaints, but the county has been listening. So we've got some internal hope out of our mayor that we can start to work with them on doing something in that area for our community, because we don't necessarily feel either that they realistically and strategically spread their funds and work plan and product through the county evenly. So we kind of feel neglected, and I think most communities would agree.
yes. And we have a slide later on what that will look like, what kind of event we would hold, what kind of questions we want to ask the community. And in your packet was a document that King County provided us about what they believe the proposed land will allow for future improvements. We take a slightly different view. The county hired a consultant that had a limited view of what can be done in that park. Our own assessment is slightly more expansive, and so we want to be able to ask the community, given the wetland restrictions there, what potentially could be done. And so one of the slides we have for tonight is thinking about what kind of outreach we want to have to the community, and then from there, what we would prepare for King County to get them to invest more heavily in that park. And this is just, I replaced the slides from last meeting with, I just duplicated them for this meeting to talk about some of the things that we initially looked at last week, which was to advocate for Duvall. And that looks like increased investment in Duvall Park, activation of the Snoqualmie Trail, and then greater investment funding to Duvall for parks that support unincorporated King County. Yeah.
You could find actual activation of the, what are your?
Yeah, so when you look at the whole trail system that goes from Rattlesnake Village all the way to Duvall, it's broken up into segments, and all of the segments, and either between cities or in cities, have more amenities in them than the segment from 203 into Duvall. And the trail system has been documented, and I did the assessment from Duvall to Remlinger of every trash can, every bathroom, every trail, every parking lot that goes through that trail system. And then the rest of it was documented for the other sections of the trail. And largely this section is dormant. We have a couple connections with parking lots along 203. But the amenities that exist, and let's use Carnation as the best and closest example. They have a King County Park that's adjacent that has a disc golf course, picnic shelters, structures, and right now, I think it just started this weekend. They do arts programming on that. They replicated that art programming in North Bend as well. And when you go up, what?
In full city too.
Admiral City. 203 to Duvall is largely left unprogrammed and barely invested in. And so one of the things we want to ask King County is put some investment out here, not only for tourism and economic development, but just so that folks in here can enjoy a like or similar set of amenities as the folks up the Snoqualmie Valley.
This is just another question since we're on this. King County has plans of continuing the trail all the way to the Snohomish County line. Are we getting any input into King County in regards to?
We have not heard from them. In fact, they didn't tell us that they bought the property. It's all through word of mouth. We've had no mayor to King County or city to county conversation about what those plans look like.
And I believe they're wanting to add a trailhead at the old barn sign down there. So is that something that we wanted? Is that part of that activation? Is our communications with the county about how that best would serve us?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. Is there any potential conversation going on with Snohomish County? Because on their plan, they have that going to Monroe, connecting to a trail that goes all the way to Everett, which to me is part of the Great American Trail.
So we have not had conversations with Snohomish County, but that could be something that we add to our work plan, knowing that that is a goal of that project, is figuring out who in Snohomish County parks this group should connect with in terms of getting community feedback and providing it to Snohomish County parks. That would be a good use of this commission's time too. And we can have that.
Not to go down a rabbit hole of the Snoqualmie Trail, but just a question, is there a potential place that Duvall is identifying as a place where restrooms could be put in and multi-use parking lot and, area could be utilized?
There are a couple of places as you go along the trail that are owned by the county that are passive trail areas right now. But we would want to take a look at the areas that have been documented and figure out where in that trail system, right now we're just slated for better signage, but that's not really enough.
Okay, yeah.
So we haven't identified anything particularly now, which would be the work of this group, is where would it be appropriate to put something? What do we want? What does a community in Duvall want for that segment?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then the final category is we support a lot of unincorporated King County up here, and our funding that we get from King County doesn't reflect the fact that our parks and particularly Big Rock provides access to sporting fields and other amenities that are passed through from King County. Doesn't really reflect that. Not only is it for Duvall, but it's for the unincorporated area. So we want to make sure that we're advocating that we get a fair share of the new King County levy money to account for the fact that we support unincorporated King County as well. And then activate again Little Big Rock Park. It's this odd little park that nobody knows about. So talking with this group, what ideas do you have to make that park more meaningful to the community? Should we have food trucks on Fridays? What could we do to make that park a place that people know about?
Is this Big Road Park at 140?
No, it's right on Main. It's
Yeah, that's the old road that used to
Okay.
go.
And the name
Steve's
there.
the historical answer for that.
That's the one. We'll have that image and kind of chat about it.
Yeah.
Upcoming.
And then kind of thinking about some other ideas, and it's further on the agenda, volunteer groups. Any ideas what we want to do for the concession at Big Rock? Next slide. See, what else have we had on? So our parks priority, planning for an open space mountain bike park. McCormick Shoreline and master plan, which we're working on right now. We have a FEMA grant in, and we received a grant from King County Council Member Sarah Perry to work on stabilizing the bank at McCormick Park, working with the Tacoma Foothills Community Collaborative on the work that they're doing. Next slide.
Mike, was your hand up?
Is that the pool room?
Yeah. Other potential plans, assessment of current and future planned events in the parks. We are planning a Duvall Carnation bike event for May 2027. So working with this group on what that looks like and how to make that a meaningful community program. Looking at different park programming that we have for toddler, tween, teens, active seniors. What kind of grants should we apply for to do more programming in our parks? Slide. And then this is what came from our interviews, park tours and meetups, adding benches, food truck or piazza Thursdays, and then updating parks related maps with different maps and features. And so that again is just kind of the highlights of a draft work plan. So before we move on, is there anything that you think we're missing or that we should add as we start thinking about how to build out what this group is going to work on for the next year?
One idea I had, and it might be a way bigger picture idea, but at the Duvall Park, the King County Duvall Park, I've always envisioned that tying into the power line trail, kind of like we talked about. Carnation has the bridge that goes over the Snoqualmie. Because like when I ride, a lot of people, right, you go down the trail and you have to go 124th and you have it's super dangerous, right?
Yeah.
So like how wonderful would it be to tie into the power line trail, get into Woodinville, and now everybody on the west side has access and they can now tie into the Snoqualmie Trail. It just opens up the whole entire network. That was a huge financial aspect. I just want to throw that idea out there. Maybe the idea can at least start.
Yeah.
Connecting the trails, I think, has came up with this Snoqualmie as well. And like, this is a common ask for people who are biking instead of riding, connecting to the other trails directly versus going onto highways. That's the right priority for it.
So a couple of ideas, and I was on the open trail and open space committee that put together for this, and so some of the ideas that were recommended that are quite in the list that maybe you might want to think about on the small scale, kind of similar to what Mr. Garcia and Sebastian thinks. Connecting the pipeline trail. I mean, we developed a series of circular trails that were all linked together. One of those is would be connecting the pipeline trail to Big Rock Road on that easement that you guys have, which is, of course, where the water pipe easement, and building a trail on top of an easement is, there's all kinds of benefits in regards to that. Another one, I think that, and this may be something perhaps more for council to talk on, but it's not too early to start talking about revenue. And there's potential revenue sources that other cities use that might be very important for us. The development fees, for example, would be something that we might want to talk about. Whether we wanted to do our own individual park levy, that's something that we should have a conversation on. Perhaps we could even do a park levy with some of our other communities. And that allows us at the same time to get your connections between the other communities on the trail. We all run levies at the same time. It's an easier way of financing the political components of it than it is for 3 different places to do 3 different levies and 3 different schedules. I think another one we made recommendations for is potential annexation pieces that, enable us to develop our trail system, into some King County lands. There's a number you guys know we talked about, particularly really good spots that we might want to be able to do. Guys on that. I had another one, but
So yeah, this is a couple good points. So it sounds like for a future meeting, going back to the open Parks, Trails and Open Space Plan, looking at the recommendations and figuring out kind of what Steve said on the first slide, how we want to prioritize those. Because if you go, we won't bring it up. It might be in one of the binders. Love this. Think we put the PTO in here. Yeah, we did. But there is series of kind of prioritization of what comes first on some of the different projects in here. And so one opportunity might be to take a look at that and see if that still makes sense. Sometimes we go out of order. We find a grant opportunity that that would hopscotch over the timing. Page it's on. But it might be worth bringing that to this group and taking a look again about how things are prioritized and if we have a sense of whether we would reprioritize those. Which we can do. Is that something that you all would like to look at in more detail of how the PTOS plan prioritizes some of the big trail projects and other projects in the city?
That would be helpful,
Okay.
so we can kind of get more of a figures in kind of what is planned and what we think about it.
Okay. So that's one thing. The second is revenue. So we can have a future PTOS plan prioritization. We can put on the agenda a conversation. I'll see. I was going to try to find the exact page that the prioritization is in PTOS plan. I'm not putting my finger on it right away. Maybe it's this little. That's an assessment of existing parks condition. We'll come back with it. So we'll prepare an agenda item for that. We can definitely talk about revenue. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, add one and one to the revenue that we talked about. And I think you guys know, I referee the grants or the state grants for trails and open spaces. My committee, we grade them and then we make a rank list to the legislature for funding. We talked a fair amount about one of the reasons that we needed to do an open space plan was because that enables us now to write grants on that source. There's a pipeline in regards to, getting grants in for the next legislative session. We should think really hard about making that timeline and coming up with a grant that, we keep funding. And I think there's some really good opportunities that we have in that, that could get funding.
So yeah, we can prepare an agenda item probably for grants. They usually come open January through March-ish. So we can do that and prepare an agenda item with all of the revenue options and what different revenue options we have. Council is in discussions about what Parks Levy might look like. They certainly haven't voted it or anything like that. But I know that it would be really meaningful to council if this group gave a recommendation about what, if we were to go out for a Parks Levy, what projects you would put in a levy. Because they would want to know as representatives of the community, what you all think the community would want to see in a Parks Levy before we put it to a ballot. But there are other revenue options, and we can tell you what we do in terms of development fees, because we do have development fees from parks as well as other revenue items. So we can prepare an agenda item for that. And then we can also do annexation. We have one annexation petition right now, and they come in at 10% and they do a 60%. That's for development. But we can bring our community and economic development director in to talk about
annexable lands around the city and what they could potentially be used for.
Or are we talking about annexation of county land into Duvall and turning it into city land, and then we use that land?
So we can bring that agenda item forward too and add it to the work plan if those items make sense for you. Okay.
I think we also discussed some agenda item to be brought in about like what are the current open items or like complaints from people for different parks. Have to be reviewed. Are we doing it this time or?
So we're doing a presentation on the parks showing so part one is tonight of each park, what it has, what the maintenance schedule is, what is planned. So that you all can get a sense of what parks we have. And then Steve, I think, would know whether or not we have any particular complaints about each park. So we're gonna break that up. First part tonight, second part at the next meeting. So y'all get kind of an inventory of what we have.
I think that could also help us understand like what people are asking for. That typically what a particular park or something, and as then as we go along and building new stuff, I think what we have has to be also lifted up.
Yeah. So that's great. These are great ideas and we can add them. And I'll reprioritize it too, based on these things. Cause I think getting a conversation going about revenue and how we fund the parks and what options we have is important to do sooner versus later. And then reprioritizing the PTOS plan will take a little bit of time because it's pretty dense. But we can get started on that in the August.
And for sure on the impact, they call it an impact fee, serving new development, and home pays a fee, right? They're buying into our fee system. We'll have a whole presentation on that. We just updated it last year, so it's very fresh, very relevant. It's quite more complicated than it has been in the past. It's kind of like at a sliding scale. There's a min and a max and a sliding scale based on square footage of dwelling. So it's kind of fun, good like numbers. But other than that, we'll share that and how those funds can be used and how they are used, because there is a legal statute that dictates how those fees must be spent. And we can't take a new capital fee and go refurbish an existing park, even if it's old, as long as it's meeting capacity. But if there's a capacity that needs to be improved at a park and it's on our list, then those funds become eligible. So pretty locked in use of specific types of fees, not every fee, but yeah, we'll certainly do all that.
Just one quick thought that would be helpful. If you could compare development fees in Duvall to other cities around here, that would give us somewhat of a springboard.
99% sure is already in the slideshow.
Yeah, I think I'm
Because that's
confident that that's one of the first questions council asks.
It's very common.
What do other cities do?
Yeah, other cities charge.
Yeah.
Very common, so I'm sure it's gonna be, yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
But we'll work on that for.
Yeah.
Great meetings.
Okay, now is the time where we elect a chair and a vice chair of this commission that will take over chairing the meeting, which is basically to run through the agenda, kind of moderate the meeting, and if the chair is absent, the vice chair would moderate the meeting. And so with that, would any of you like to nominate yourselves or each other to chair or vice chair the Parks Commission?
The vice chair.
I'll nominate for the main chair.
Fantastic.
Get it out of the way.
Do we have any other self nominations or nominations of each other for the chair of the Parks Commission? Okay.
Yeah, totally trained on that. I'm gonna mess this up. Just
It is
FYI,
a
like,
big job, I promise.
I think the vice chair can learn from his mistakes as well.
Thanks.
Okay, can we
Oh,
get
yeah.
a motion to nominate Commissioner Garcia as the chair of the Parks Advisory Commission? Is there a second? Okay. All in favor of nominating Commissioner Garcia as the chair, please say aye. Any opposed? Okay, with that, thank you, Commissioner Garcia. You are now chair of the Parks Advisory Commission. All right, do we have a nomination for vice chair? You're nominating yourself?
Yes.
Okay. Can we get a, fantastic, can we get a motion to nominate Commissioner
It's for me.
Espugnani as Vice Chair of the Parks Advisory Commission?
No motion.
Second.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Okay, any opposed? Fantastic, we have a chair and a vice chair.
Faster than everything else.
Okay, so Chair Garcia, I will, Steve and I will continue to moderate this meeting and then we'll have you start in August.
Okay.
Which means I will send you the agenda and all the supporting materials well ahead, so you're prepared.
I just had a basic question, like, can we suggest agenda along the way as well, or does it have to be in this meeting only? Like, what if we think of some?
So, two ways. So good of the order. So at the end of the meeting, you can all just provide any feedback, agenda items, conversation points that you want to share. And then in between meetings, if you send to me or to Steve your agenda items, we can get it on the agenda so long as we know a week in advance. So that we can get it on the agenda, because we will send you all the packet 5 days before your meetings, so you have time to read them.
All right, so the intent here is to have a map for each place, overview, just inform you of all the parks we have, what types they are, and then a little history on each park. Again, most of this, all of this as imagery is cut right out of the Park Shelf Open Space Plan. So we have different types of parks. They are defined by a national standard. And I will just jump into our park system. I expect everybody is somewhat familiar with the boundary limits of the city of Duvall. It's pretty much Cherry Valley Road on the north end and Big Rock Road on the south end. The river is our actual city limit line, the center of the river. So if you're on the opposite side of the center, you're in the county. If you're on our side of the center, you're in the city. So that's kind of the river. And then the east edge of town is Batten Road. And then out to the high school. So I have a pointer. I could use this as a pointer. Maybe not. Does my cursor just show up? Yeah. And this heavy black line is the city limit line that just goes around the city. This dashed line is what we do call our urban growth area reserve line. So those lots potentially could become a city parcel at some point. So just for the imagery on that map.
So we're requiring an extension.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so community parks, larger than 10 acres, generally speaking, they serve a bulk of the community's needs in one space. And they are the larger gathering spaces for the community. Neighborhood parks are fairly full feature elements, playgrounds, play areas, not necessarily fields, but enough spaces to run around. And they're generally in the 3-acre range. And the names of the parks that we have, so Big Rock itself and McCormick Park are community parks by definition. And then the neighborhood parks, Snowberry, which is in the Toll Brothers area, Snowberry is off 143rd in the Rio Vista area, mostly sensitive areas of trails and some playground. Taylor Park, which is off of Park Street in Old Town, which is adjacent to Clemens Creek in the woods, has trails and the playground and a non-operable restroom. And then the Two Moons Park is the one on the south end in the new Toll Brothers area, which is a city park. So they are intended also to be sprinkled through the town in kind of appropriate areas where they're not all in one zone and not all in one place. They're kind of spread to the best of the city's abilities. As you all know, Duvall is fairly small, so shoving parks in a new neighborhood is quite expensive. So they're all pretty much fit where they're going to be and just be enhanced from here on out. And then the small parks we'll go over today. So 278 Sports Court, and these should just be in alphabetical order, except for Cherry Valley Tennis Courts, which I added at the end because we had some questions and comments. And I noticed they weren't even in the PTOS. So I thought that was interesting as bigness. We have consultants and staff, everybody read that thing 100 times. Nobody made mention of the tennis court, so they made the list last. So yeah,
Is that the 278 sports court?
that's its own.
Okay.
All right, so on the map, the circle in the center is the location of the 278 sports court. And what that is, it's not the best picture. It is actually a storm detention vault that gained a lot of momentum with kids in the neighborhood as a flat place to play. So it was incorporated 15 plus years ago as a park space. So it's fenced off. It had some temporary hoops on it. The city did not invest a lot in it. However, with the PTOS upgrade and then some interest from the just prior mayor, fencing went in that was new and improved, actual fixed mounted basketball hoop. We went through and we painted the surface and we painted into pickleball courts. It does not have permanent netting, but the space is there. It is adjacent to 278 as one of the main thoroughfares, and then it's very utilitarian looking if you do know where it is, because it is a storm detention facility. So there's an asphalt road on the side for us to get equipment in there and clean that out, do the work we need for the storm system. But it also doubles as a great play space on top. There's not much left in the PTOS to do to that at this time. Maybe some plantings to improve the general space around it. But on the east side is a big actual ditch, which is part of the storm system. There's a water quality element. But you can do some landscaping. Obviously, then general upkeep of the fencing, general upkeep of the painted surface. The biggest complaints we receive on this facility is the pickleballers chewing up their sneakers because it is a heavy broom finish, because it was built as a storm detention ball, not a play surface like you would expect at Cherry Valley Playground, which has minus its many cracks, an actual applicated tennis surface, right? So that's a fun one to tell the community, like, we're in the park, we did our best. Another coat of paint will always make it better. So, but another coat of paint will cost you 7 to 10 grand. But yes, that was painted just in COVID, because as everybody knows, with COVID, everybody sat around like, we can put a wall. And everybody put a wall. You would not believe the amount of questions, comments, concerns, complaints we received about not having that pickleball courts.
Yeah.
And the fencing replacement and the hoop itself, that was roughly 23 grand just last summer. And then we did add signage to the citywide. We went through the cultural commission, as we didn't have a parks advisory group. So we came up with a new layout of all the park signs. So I don't know the technical name of the color. It's the orangey brown. It's a very general definition, but every playground and park now has the same sign. The signs are scaled, so a community space or a community park is much bigger than a neighborhood park, which is bigger than a pocket park. So they're kind of 3 sizes for the signage, and they all are. I guess what we ran into is the inconsistency of folks not knowing this is a city park, is this a neighborhood park? Do I run this thing as a neighborhood HOA? Do you guys run it? Does somebody else run it? Who runs this thing? So now they're all labeled appropriately. Because a lot of the pocket parks that you do see in some of the neighborhoods are not ours. They're owned and operated by the HOAs of that neighborhood. So this is
278, sorry.
Generally too, as far as general maintenance, every park's inspected weekly. So staff member goes through, equipment has different rules and regulations dictating what we need to do, play chip thickness, swing chains, checking ropes, checking all the actual features. This is very basic. They walk it, make sure it's not damaged, look at the perimeter fencing, make sure there's nothing that seems out of place or damaged that needs repair, and general cleanup. Kind of the weekly walk on every park.
This is the only pickleball court?
There's a pickleball court behind the rec center, which is a city property, does not have fixed mounted posts. So normally the fire guys just leave their net out there. So, and they're happy when they're not playing it, they don't take it. So that's there. We have sprayed this park for pickleball. We have sprayed the tennis courts with a gray inlay for pickleball at Cherry Valley. And we have also put pickleball lines down at Fox Hollow Park. So that's coming up next too. It is in the design plans for Big Rock ball field expansion to have a pickleball park area with lights. So that's another thing, we don't have lights on any other park. The school district has the covered basketball surface under the structure at Cherry Valley Elementary. Don't know that they have a pickleball line sprayed on there, but
Playing there.
yeah, they're playing it, and most people do a nice job. And that was one of the things too that the community had shared, like anything we can do to try to maximize either A, city, or B, school district property and amenities in the city, we should work towards, because we're both the biggest landowners. We have of anything in town, everything else is residential, so we're the only resource. So to work together to make those improvements was some talk about that. Even internal running, basketball night, adult basketball night, team basketball night, pickup stuff, which they started to do down at Tolt with some of the programming they had done through the middle school in the school district. So there's always more to do, but that's kind of one of the things we didn't really make mention of in long range planning, was kind of expanding that partnership, because they look for volunteers to staff those team sports nights, and adults can go too with kids, and it is encouraged. You just have to get a background check like they do at the school district, but those things are kind of fun for kids too, who maybe don't have a lot of opportunity to play with an adult per se, right? Like, so. All right, the next one, I have to type up. This is what we call Big Rock Park at 140th, which is these two sequoias down at the south end of town. Again, all it is a picnic space, the big rock in between two 120 plus foot sequoias. Signage has been added. It doesn't really have delineated fencing or anything else to that effect, so I would imagine that is probably something that needs to be added. And we have a plan from an arborist, like, hey, can we remove the asphalt? Well, yes, but with all caps, right? Those trees have lived with that impervious surface adjacent to the roof structure forever. So it's literally going to be like saw cutting lines through the asphalt, let it sit. Remove small strips of the asphalt, let it sit. So you're not overwhelming and changing the root system for these massive trees, which they have all types of roots, right? Like small ones, medium ones, large ones, old ones, new ones, dead ones. Like, so it's, I honestly, we have had that plan for 10 plus years, but I'm terrified to do it because the side effect is a very unhappy sequoia. But their health hasn't degraded, so it hasn't. The one closest to the highway, which is the westerly one, was thinning at some point. We do watch it. It has not changed in its thinning. I think if anything, it has improved. So that's why we were like, well, I don't want to touch this, touch the asphalt and kill it, because I don't want to be that guy. But I think we're at a point where we can start to make some of those changes. They do seem very strong and healthy. But yeah, that's kind of what's on that space. I
They
think,
do have that rock harnessing.
Yeah.
Their joint roots.
right?
In between. Do we know how old they are when they were planted?
I don't know. I can ask the historical society, but
They're probably about 50 years old. Sequoias can only.
Yeah.
they go fast. And the one uphill is bigger than the one downhill, but it's probably just because it has more nutrient soil to grow through instead of the highway.
The arborist actually put together a report. Oh, so is that something we could see? Yeah.
And is the access of this park through the safe parking?
It's through the dead end road of which was 140th, which is adjacent. So there's kind of just like bollards and you can just pull up. Or I don't know that I would say go through a Safeway. They don't really care, but yeah, it is. Safeway is private property. I am confident we don't have an access easement to use it for parking for a public park adjacent. Again, Safeway is a good neighbor. I don't think they care. So yeah.
So this is one where the mayor really would like to do something in this park to bring notice to the fact that we have, at one point, I had heard, Steve, you'll have to correct me, that we were marketing it as like the smallest park in Washington.
I have heard that. I have not confirmed that.
So
there
I
is
think it's
smaller
now
one in Vancouver,
the
but-
second smallest
Yeah.
park in Washington. I don't know if you all find that compelling and that we want to start promoting that we have the second smallest park in Washington. But it's certainly on the mayor's list to like draw attention to it, and she would really like to have the Parks Commission thoughts on what we could do to do something there, draw attention to it.
Yes.
Personally, I think the park, actually even knowing it was park, like I didn't know it was actually park for years until I lived in Duvall, but what frightens me about bringing attention to like families with children using a park right next to a road that quickly goes up to 50 or down from 50, and a lot of people speed up fast or slow down slow, would be some type of fencing from a safety standpoint. And I'm one of the proudly child-free people. So the fact that I think about that, it kind of makes me wonder if like parents would really want to take their kids to a park that's right next to the road.
Yeah.
But that, you know, not saying that we put a playground there, but you know, just the idea of like, you know, come picnic if you were to have, you know, food truck there, which I think that's super cool idea. It's to have something to bring attention to it. Plus, it's easy to walk from the apartments or the condos, or you know, there's a lot of stuff around that area, and it could bring more down to that side of town. But that's just my thought from a safety standpoint that I would consider, in my mind, more important than picking up the asphalt, because the asphalt itself could be used for, you know, being able to put more chairs or, you know, picnicking areas, or, you know, having a food truck drive in there. So just a thought.
Yeah, I mean, one thing we could do is, you know, bring like a one-person band food truck night that's not really for kids, right? We can do other programming for children and have it be like an after-hours night or something.
Have everything small, small theme.
Or 2% back to the second smallest park.
I mean, I just think about small things too, right? Because it is so small. And when you look at it from this direction versus being out on the road area, because it, you know, it's an area where protests meet and other things meet in the city. But from this area, I'm thinking of like when people do outdoor sketching or outdoor drawing, right? Like that could be lovely and draw attention, because you also, but also like sequoias aren't here. So there's a Duvall Historical Society sort of pop-up opportunity, I think, as well. And then the other thing that I actually looked up, because I thought I saw this on the agenda, was there used to be a geocache site here, right? This seems very much like a geocache site, doesn't it? Like some random
There's a survey benchmark.
two
off the
trees,
front.
two trees and a rock site. So, and it's not there anymore. So that person's, so Washington Geocache has taken it off. But it seems like an opportunity, and certainly geocaching is a way to connect all the parks to do stuff, educational stuff. So
I think some of the, some other relevant age and use of those parks outside of geocaching, because I'm thinking, oh yeah, I did it when the kids are little, I haven't touched it in 5 years, is the Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
The mayor wants me to
Yes.
register different sites on Pokemon.
Yeah,
as
so-
Oh, is that how you do it?
As Pokestops. Yeah, you can register, try to register Pokestops. apparently.
So just a couple of thoughts on this. It's just, wow, just thinking, one of the interesting things about the trees is that their location coming into town from the north gives it a really good opportunity for us to welcome people to the town, right? You know, if we were to put some sort of signage there in regards to welcome to Duvall, this may not be a really great idea, but another thing you could do there is you could put a very small little kiosk visitor center, you know, with propaganda about why Duvall is great. And then if you really took it one step further, those trees are really good symbols for the city of Duvall. And in other words, if we make that the visitor center, people come in, they associate, you know, those trees with the town. And it's a good logo piece that you could put on, you know, to the particular logo that we have right now, which, just my opinion, isn't a great logo.
Yeah, people either have that impression or they absolutely love it and don't think we need to change.
Well, it really could be the logo of Duvall Parks. We brought this up to, you know, at the open space meeting that, you know, a good logo for Duvall Parks is needed. That could be a good logo, just, you know, the rock and the trees.
As a recent addition to Duvall, I would like to say that I noticed those trees coming into town, but I kind of thought that it was just like something growing at the corner of a parking lot. I didn't know that it was anything in particular. So for me, especially if we're talking about making it something, I really would want to focus on identifying space, like setting space aside to make it obvious that it's something, you know, whether we draw parking lot, like lines, some lines for parking, or whether we create like spaces, but I would like to create specific spaces to set it apart as something that is special, you know, add some flowers someplace, or just make it look like it's cared for, intended, instead of just there. I was also going to mention the logo possibilities. Your comment of 2 trees and a rock. I think that's a cute, catchy little phrase too, right? It was adorable because I do think it's simple and it's clean, and it also is very representative of a lot of the life and growth and uniqueness of this area. So those are my thoughts. Whether we want like a whole lot of kids in there climbing around, especially if what we're doing is maintaining these 2 trees and a rock, I think we possibly need to be cautious, but the idea of small things I think works. You know, having a musician that's out there once in a while with, you know, jazz or something that's not as like, you know,
No
high
puppet
energy. Right. Yeah, less puppet shows, more like vibes. Yeah.
You know, it's marching around.
Right. Exactly, you know, or I don't, but just defining the space and making it look tended, I think to me would help that.
Commissioner Youngblood?
Perhaps we could give them a name, the 2 trees, but we could have a citywide contest and name the 2 trees. And then he would bring more attention to the area in general. Because I mean, one looks bigger than the other, but maybe it's the angle. The one in the forefront looks fuller and bigger, but maybe they get a name. It's still Big Rock Park, but it's who's living in Big Rock Park. But then there might be people who really have not noticed. I mean, when you drive in, it's on the side and you have a turn off at Safeway and you have a light right there coming up, and you know, has to be some attention paid to what you're driving, but maybe, yeah, we have a contest and people can name the two boys there, girls, or boy and girl, or whatever they are.
It's a children's book. Their dreams, their background, their connection to the land.
Or I make stickers and put the little trolls in them.
Oh, yeah.
I think I saw a hand over here before I go to.
Oh, sorry. When we drive in, you brought up the flowers and stuff. When you drive into Duvall from Monroe, there is a really nice like welcome sign, and you know that you come into Duvall. We don't have that the other direction, do we?
It's the same one as under that tree.
It's
Oh,
like that
yes.
tree.
I don't even see it. That's
You know, that's
Well,
what
it's kind of obscured, right, by the wilderness on the private land. Yeah.
It is the seed sign. There are a few little.
Yeah.
You're adjusting your speed limit.
I guess what I noticed instead is like, the distillery and,
Yeah.
that's the side I see.
Commissioner Katz, right? Celery everything.
Yeah. I was pondering these beauties in the middle, you know, in between our last meeting and this one. And going up is a possibility too. I mean, just in utilizing the park. My daughter works at a ropes course in Bellevue Park, and it's a private business, you know, that they run out of there, but it's a very successful business. And, you know, it's got a ropes course and it's got, you know, these great rope ladders in between trees. And so there's fun to be had, as well as, you know, just somebody who is expert in being able to harness kids or adults, you know, whoever wants to go and explore the upstairs of a sequoia it would be a fun thing to offer.
So kind of putting some of these thoughts together, since we're, you know, just kind of starting here around here. I think, you know, having something that says, okay, you're into Duvall, welcome to Duvall, however you do it. Action in all three different entrances, right? You know, I mean, we can do something that's a little bit more showy down here. I mean, I remember being here for many years, and I had, you know, coming down right before you got the bridge, there was the old wagon that kind of started falling apart, you know. Yeah, I know it's probably not the city of Duvall land, but at the same rate, if you do all three at the same time, one of the things about the rock, you know, that I think about this, probably a bad idea, but I think about the rock on I-5 up by Bellingham. That was like the graffiti central for, you know, the kids from Western. I don't think we want to do that, but at the same rate, you can make rocks so the sudden be very big focal points. And perhaps what we want to do, and I love the idea about the flowers, that could be done by, you know, our friends group very easily, you know. They can be the people who keep that, you know, changing continuously. But the contest idea is a great idea. I mean, it's just really, you know, great idea. Again, and it's not just because it gives the nice entrance, you know, into sense. It builds community, you know, and you know, it's a good news item. We could get that on like King 5, right? Entertainment and hiking, you know, and then put in a component in which kids get a chance to, you know, be a participant in what is going to happen to them.
We did do a naming of the snow plow. So the snow plow here has a name that the elementary school kids chose, but we had the naming go through the teachers so that when they got to Public Works, we didn't have completely absurd names. And we didn't put it out to the whole community so that we didn't have to curate ones that were inappropriate. So we had it through the school, through the teacher, back to us. Steve loves naming things. So we have done it. And
What's the snowplow's name?
The abominable snow plow. We have the report that we put on in the winter of like the Yeti driving it. Yeah.
I only shake my head because when we didn't do a naming contest with some nice parameters, which we did this time, we received New Friends Fun Park.
Okay.
The Fox Hollow Park, which staff refused to call it that, sadly, because it's too long of a
New Friends Fun Park.
yeah. So I just caution naming anything, but give it good parameters, and I think we'll be
I like
fine.
the idea of naming the rock and then naming the trees, not the park. Let's keep it the park.
Yeah.
And that way, I think people are coming and seeing it, like this invites them there. I think a lot of, and the other idea I had was some of the ceremonial things about the Parks Commission or city could have had there. You don't expect much larger gatherings. Maybe so that just say we will do it at this park. So that way, I think any other city small events or recognition something, instead of doing it in the meeting, we can just do it in summer's meeting open park area. That way it brings attention.
I mean, the only other potential thing is that because the size is so small, it's making it bigger. So I know, to the south of that is still city of Duvall and it's owned by, I don't know whoever is in there, but perhaps they might be a willing seller to, I mean, they're not doing anything with the land next to it.
Is that about the beer property?
That is the Buren property. That is the line of the city.
Oh, he's right there,
Fence line.
right.
Not that the Buren Family Trust or whatever Chet calls his property wouldn't be willing to have us do stuff, but at least I think, for the time being, cleaning up the property corner so you could see it a little more. I don't think he would, say no to us going in there, just, trimming, mowing, weeding, everything down so you can see it a little more quickly
Yeah.
and cleaning it up. But yeah, that is the tightness that south line where the power pole is. You kind of see it in the edge of the picture there. That's the right of way. It is limited to the old county, now city road right of way. For space.
Time check for.
Yeah, no, these are great ideas. I took a ton of notes. I'll come back after I kind of digest them and come back to the next meeting on
Yeah.
this.
One more quick thought.
Okay.
Could we add some kind of light?
I was thinking,
Like either on the sign that's there or at the rock or just at the base of the
Like
tree?
uplighting.
Yeah.
at least in the lights visible.
Yeah. Something.
Okay, I'll make a note of that too. These are really good because at some point, probably in September, we'll want to take some of these ideas that have cost components and feed them into a budget request as we go into our 2-year budget plan, which is how we do the cultural commission. So the cultural commission, we're doing it right now. We're doing public outreach. I was at the farmer's market on Thursday. Is we ask the community what kind of arts they want, whether it's murals, events, statuary. And we put all the ideas together and then make a budget request in the 2-year budget council so that for 2 years, those different art projects get funded. So if we have ideas here that are outside of kind of the PTOS plan, we would potentially create a work plan that would get funded in the budget. So I'll keep track of all the ideas that we have as we go through the different parks and what could be done in them outside of what we would do through other revenues.
And it's nicer to hear from her instead of me. Mine's always like, no, but.
Mine is often, you can do that, let me check your sleep.
Fun stuff. Okay, Fox Hollow Park, formerly called through a survey of people, New Friend Fun Park. So Fox Hollow Park, it is kind of wrapped in amongst a subdivision. Going back, how to use this as well as I do teams, so I can't see how to point. But where the brown is the number, it's just number 8 on the list. You can get in and out of that by car or walking. Our code is really strong and our design standards are strong for development to force access points via road and or a pathway. So like to the north, if you know the little neighborhood, it's 12 units, it's called the Orchard. It was built prior to anything to the south being built, but it was built as a dead end cul-de-sac. Well, we went through a development review process and we could say, hey, we want paths because we want connectivity, right? Healthy communities are connected communities. It's proven it's not hogwash, it's real. So we force that through our codes to dictate. Most times, 9 times out of 10, as long as it's not built already, we get 1 million, more than 1 million now based on unit count, which is very unfamiliar territory in other cities. Some of them love dead ends. We won't name names. But yeah, this has it's a pretty big park actually. The court, which you can see is sprayed for pickleball, some basketball and tennis. It's a little hard to see. There are color differentiations on the sport court lines. Playground, hoops, swings, grass space. This is also on top of another and for those who do or do not know if USA is playing, I would request no score notifications if you can. I'll be silent. We'll go home and watch later. So that said, it is another transformation of a storm detention facility. The playground itself and the basketball playground corridor on a giant stormwater retention vault. It's a regional vault for about 200 homes in that area. The Foxhole neighborhood on both sides of 278, it's split. So it was a very large subdivision. So that's what came out of this. But repairing the fence this year was $6,000. 11 grand. Repainted surface was $6,000. Signage was added. So there have been some upgrades, but again, maintenance funds aren't capital funds, and that bucket of money is smaller than capital funds. So just as we go and we'll explain and learn how the funding works citywide, the general fund funds parks, its revenues are the same as that for general city operations, police, and parks. They're all the same bucket of change. So again, inspections are had. This one does have a fixed mounted net that is tennis based because tennis was more popular up until recent times than pickleball. But yeah, and there's some ADA access here. We're looking to add ADA access, but it is a fairly accessible property.
And was this last repainted?
I think that was the package from like 4 years ago.
How long do they typically last?
They're supposed to last about 10 years, but they don't seem to with our wet environment. All right, skipping over to Hicks Park. Does anybody know where Hicks Park is?
No.
No,
Okay. It's in an older subdivision between the Cedars and Cameron Park. It's a little, about a half-acre grass space, a little gravel trail throughout the edges of it, and then this climbing structure was built with a Eagle Scout. It is a nice shady park. There's just street parking and or walk-up parking, no parking lot. There is a nice picnic bench. There's some trash cans, city services. Yeah, climbing structure was built in 2012. Kid did a great job. We were apprehensive about this. It's about 12 feet high, and it's like a roped course thing. Now they're making these things like 40 feet high. It's terrifying. I love my kids playing, but I was like, what had my kid going out there like 7? Yes, they did, and they live, so it's good for them. So yeah, this park has not had a lot of investment. It does not require much upkeep. It's just grass and gravel. We re-gravel once in a while. We re-chip once in a while. So I think this talked about adding more edging. It has a decent space now. I'm not sure how that made it into the PTOS, but maybe didn't think it had edging. And then resurfacing the trail and so on.
Go back one slide, just for a second. So that was what I was thinking of, the dashed green lines there, which is right, south of, Big Rock Park.
Sure.
And it says that that's, future city parks, but isn't that in King County then?
It is.
So how can you call it?
That one, if you look closer, not at the green hatch lines, but the dashed gray one below and around it, it is in the city potential annexation area. Yes, not in the city limits itself. And that one had like a deal made with the owner and the city back, I don't know, 15 years ago, whatever it was, that they would bring it in as a heritage style park. And that's how it got on the annexation potential list.
One reason, just to go back, and sorry for interrupting, but if you could pick up, that piece of white, then all of a sudden Big Rock Park becomes much more significant in size.
Oh, are you looking
You're
at,
gonna see it back with Big Rock at 140th.
oh, Big Rock at 140, okay.
I assume everybody, if you live around, knows where Judd Park is. Everybody calls it Central Park. It's right on the corner of 2 streets, 2 arterials actually. So it has fencing, playground, pathway, grass, some fence, some not, depending on your age of child. And again, for some cost scale, play chips themselves, when we replaced them in 2024, was $20,000 just for chips. That's not the removal of the old ones.
That installation though of the new.
They were blown in, yeah. So they just got delivered and blown in. We added a shade structure in 25. That was 113 grand. And that does not include soft costs, that's hard construction. So we have two project managers and a capital program manager who deploy most of the city's project work. So their time goes into, arranging, contracting, scheduling, working with builders. So there's other kind of hidden costs that we have as staff. We added some new equipment, the little orb in the bottom right, the little climb in and spin around purple green thing, the caterpillar, and a little climbing tent. Those were added recently, and that was 33 grand. Signage is there out on the street, and that is not a neighborhood park or a community park. That is just our standard playground, and it has a 2x4 sign there. And again, that gets a weekly walkthrough, and once or sometimes twice a year, the equipment gets pressure washed. If you are or aren't in the know of parks, sure there's germs, but normally exterior climate controls most of that, but we do try to clean everything once a year, if not twice a year.
That's a nice part.
Yeah, it's heavily used. And it's not a waterproof roof system, but again, in a misty day and a light rain day, kids stay pretty dry under it. And you do see people using it just to get their kids out of the house.
Well, I mean, that part's hot.
Yeah.
Before those shades, like, it was, you couldn't stay there that long. It was brutal, and it's such a nice part.
Yeah, we have infrared thermometers usually for pavement management, but that would reach 130 degrees on the surfaces of those slides and whatnot. So yeah, it's a real deal. There was a big thing on the Today Show like 5 years ago that everybody got. Oh yeah. Yep.
Like burns.
Yeah, Lake Burns. Lake Rasmussen Park, everybody knows that's just kind of on the east edge of Old Town off of 4th Avenue and like Stella/Cherry Street. It was built in the 40s by a women's group. So kind of a fun fact. It was not natural. It was made. They made it as a feature to go hang out in.
The lake?
Yes.
No way.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, there is a weir and a small dam on the edge of it that controls the elevation. I'm sure there was a natural resource because that is a perched area of groundwater that comes out. So it is naturally fed. It is also kind of a regional storm facility. We do not swim in it, and there are signs to do such or don't do such. We're working on some of the poplars. If you haven't noticed lately, they're dying. So we're removing those. They are expensive to remove, so we try to do our best. So we have one more to come down this year, and I think another 2 over the next year.
I did ask Steve recently as of last week, if there was a way to swim in it, and he said.
It would take a lot of treatment. But
Can you boat in?
there are little boats that people do bring.
Not motorized, I assume.
No,
No, a lot of
Yeah.
people will, they'll go out in their kayaks, cause I live right
Yeah.
next to it, they go on their kayaks and their paddleboards, and people fish in it.
Yeah.
I don't know why, they're kind of koi.
there's 6 different species of fish that we know of in it.
Wow.
And crawdads, yeah. And the koi are huge, like there's salmon sized koi in there that are probably worth like $5 grand each.
That's
They're
crazy.
huge. You can see them from we have drone pictures just with the algae blooms. We try to get a snapshot of those routinely, and you can see like some of these fish swimming. It's crazy nuts.
The eagles.
Yeah, there is I don't know, Misty, if you saw or were on the neighborhood chat, we had an otter.
Yeah,
I don't know if the otter's still there.
I haven't heard about it
Yeah,
yet.
it's been a month since I had been informed, and 2 months now, like when I saw the video, but
Yeah,
Yeah, it
it's
came up
pretty
the-
risky for him to get all the way up there.
came up the waterway from the valley, I'm sure. Yeah.
So one of the things that's really significant, I think, about the park is on the east side, there's some significant old growth
Mhm.
up on that little blue, butte that's up there. It's not being taken care of, and it's a real gem that we don't want to lose. And if you were to put on your, route trail around there some signage, invite some of the, the elementary school kids to be part of that. That could be really,
Is there a trail that goes around it? No.
not there's some private property issues that, right? That,
I mean,
Both sides,
yeah.
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 And is the old growth on private land
No,
or?
it's not, just outside city.
Oh, wow,
Yeah, right now you can't get to it though without coming from above.
okay.
You gotta come about, but it's,
How deep is it?
My understanding is it's about 6 feet deep.
Oh.
So I don't think it meets the definition of a lake. I think it meets the definition of a pond technically. But
so just one other question then, so. The creek that comes out of that goes down to Cherry Valley and goes underneath the road. I think it's Rasmussen Creek. There's a bridge there that's right on the south side of Cherry Valley Road. That's city property. And is that bridge there for kids to get to elementary school?
yeah,
Because it's kind of like the bridge to nowhere.
there's a gravel trail that they, instead of walking down to Cherry Valley and up to elementary,
Yeah.
they walk down that neighborhood and then across that. It's the structural deck of a tractor trailer.
Yeah, right.
The axles cut off and so we have to inspect that as a structure.
That trail needs to be maintained.
Yeah, is there?
Got the grass cut the other day.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's
Yeah,
much better.
yeah.
I walk it regularly.
I have a question, just an observation. A lot of these say add ADA
Mhm.
something, some feature. I would be interested, I don't know if this is the time to talk about it, but I'd be interested to see what things do have ADA access, what things do we have access to, and what percentage of our parks have ADA access, that kind of thing, just kind of see if there's a gap there.
There is,
There
yeah.
is a gap.
We just did a ADA access inventory citywide of all
Oh.
public spaces, including
Yeah.
sidewalks,
Yeah,
to the parks and to facilities and throughout the city on the roads.
And
Yeah.
that's on our
that was
website.
sleeping.
Yeah, it's on the website.
Okay.
We just wrapped that up. We sound bad, but we're like 90% non-compliant, but it is better than average.
Yeah, sure, but I just, as
And that
we're
includes
talking
faulted
about.
sidewalks, stuff where they live and those like that.
Oh, right. No, I'm just thinking like, as we're talking about these parks and how to like improve them, there are some ADA tweaks that are easy.
Sure.
And some that are harder, so if we had kind of an idea of what is and isn't. Having ADA access, then maybe we could have an eye on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no problem, good or bad, we have the
I
data.
think I like this point of like, you don't have to be 100% compliant, but if you can't even get there at all by some help also, then it's
Mhm.
difficult.
Something, yeah.
So that has a loop trail from Stella Street around Cherry.
So-
Again, not AV compliant, but there.
But we can come back with an agenda item
Yeah.
on some of the ADA features, but if you wanna know the whole report. It is on our website. If you type in ADA, it was posted on June 8th, 2026. It's called the ADA transition.
It was very fresh. You probably saw the kid walking around town with his iPad and phone and a
Oh, yeah.
reflective jacket. He was here for the better part of like 3 months. Walked every public surface.
Wow.
This year.
On this,
Oh,
yeah,
next part,
just finished.
this one, like, is there a kind of parking adjacent to it or no, nothing?
No, it's mostly walk up at the end of like an undeveloped road right away. 1 or 2 cars fit normally, but I think most people just walk up or bike up.
There's typically about 2 cars there,
Yeah,
and usually whoever's bringing their boat. Like boats, quite a few people bring their little boats,
there's no dock or pier.
public dock.
Correct.
Yes, there's a private one that a lot of people try to use.
Yeah, that was a pretty good trick. I don't like tricking codes, but that guy tricked the code. A dock is not a pier. So if that, or a pier can be a boat, and a boat can be a pier, so his boat is just tied to the shore. So he does not need a permit. Not from us, it'd be like a jar button.
So it's a disappear.
Yeah.
And then, so the last one for tonight, I kind of, like I said, broke up half the parks, is the Cherry Valley Tennis Courts. So that history is quite long. The city got a HUD grant in '84 to put those on the school property. So that's why it has numerous cracks that have been repaired in my tenure here 2 or 3 times. It's asphalt, and asphalt is a rigid pavement, but it moves unlike concrete, right? Concrete cracks and breaks, it separates that way. Asphalt is always moving technically. It's kind of like leaded glass. You know, when you see the waves in window glass that's old, it's actually moved, right? It's not what it once was. So asphalt is just a bad surface for permanent surfaces to this effect. So that's why it has a ton of cracks. I know you were saying that you had some complaints about that. We are aware the part of maintenance for this facility too is the difficulty. We don't tend to go in there unless it's an emergency because school's in session and kids and all that. So the hours of the park are normally after school hours, and it says so on the fence. But it's kind of tied to the school property. Like as an adult, you're likely not going to go there at 2 or 10 to play tennis when school's in session. So we've gotten in there, the crew, now the school's out, you know, they cleaned it, pressure washed it, got it, it's normal maintenance for the season. The school district's pretty good about helping us keep up on it. The nets get broken once in a while, but other than that, it's just a fenced perimeter, large space for 2 tennis courts, and all courts are sprayed with a light gray instead of a white. But yeah, that's been painted twice and the cracks repaired twice. One of our PMs was asking about it recently after one of our meetings, so I just said, hey, maybe take a peek on, see if anybody's out there. It is hard. The last time it took us like 4 months to find somebody to just do the repair. There's not many people out there either, so we were looking at some of that again. I don't have it budgeted, but again, we have to manage services a little more critically than wanting to do things because that becomes a need for, you know, injury prevention.
Are the same cracks popping up again, or like developing new cracks once you repair?
Most of the cracks aren't new, they just continue to be the same. They just get bigger again. They've all been filled routinely. So in the last part.
Yes.
So it's kind of my spiel on the city parks. We'll go over the next half at the next meeting, just to share. And then the county park, I don't think we have a map on here, but fairly confident everybody knows where that is. Downtown in the county. They did share recently, because we did inquire, so they do have some options that they looked at doing. A couple were just different ways to keep it as is and then regain access to the King County Snoqualmie Valley Trail, because it used to have that.
Oh.
There used to be another field below and adjacent to the upper field, so you could get down there more easily, but there is a creek. It's now gone natural, so it was a seven-figure deal, wasn't it? It was plus million, not
Yeah.
one either. It was
Yeah,
three.
multiple.
Yeah. So we don't necessarily agree with that analysis. I'm sure you could spend your money if you like to get down there, but there are probably other ways to do something. So they are cognizant of the need, but aren't sure what they would do. And I think the city would like to insert itself into. We would like to help guide you on what we would like you to do, since we are the people that use this more than anybody else. So
Well, we actually did tell them
Yeah.
we were going to insert ourselves. So the mayor and I had a meeting with King County Parks probably about a month ago. And initially they said, well, whenever we do outreach about one of our parks, well, whenever outreach occurs about one of our parks, we want it to be county led. We said, great, give us a plan. They said, well, no, we have to do it for the whole county. And we said, we're not waiting for that. We need to have you do something in this park. Kind of made a little bit of a menace of ourselves. So now they have found capital money that they're seem willing to pledge to do some upgrades at the park. So now it's a matter of us as a community telling King County what we would like to see there. And so the question is, given the constraints, so you all got their environmental assessment that they did back in 2021. So the next steps would be, given the constraints, what could be done in that park and what do we think our community would want us to go back to tell King County, this is what the community would value in that park for investments. And so I just threw a couple on there. They have mentioned connecting the park to the Snoqualmie Valley Trail. I think the new focus for parks would be a less expensive way to get access back down to the trail. But Steve and I have looked at it, potentially additional picnic facilities. You can do disc golf in passive areas around there, and I know we've had members of the community ask about disc golf. And then, so that's kind of on one side, and then the second is, how do we want to ask the community for their input? Do we want to have an event down there, have the community come, say, look around, walk where the wetlands are, so people can understand the constraints of the park? Do we want to do a survey? So I just threw a couple things on this slide to get the juices flowing on.
I was just thinking that like, I'm sorry,
No,
doing like a Saturday event, food trucks, but like getting the adults, but also the kids and like letting them tell us what they want. And it could be crazy, right? Some of their ideas are like outstanding, right? Like, oh wow, that's maybe not this, but like that could be a really good idea, whatever, just some crazy play structure or what's the frisbee, the ultimate frisbee course or something like that, and get that popular there. But just yeah, maybe a food truck band and just like get a bunch of people there talking together and coming up with ideas.
I think just add two more suggestions. This is what people have told me that they thought was a good idea from. Going to be a larger dog park. Because you can deal with the wetland issues pretty much easier that way. I don't know if King County really cares about dogs at Duvall, but people in Duvall care about dogs at Duvall. The other one is a pump and grind course. That's basically, it's a built up course for kids to ride their dirt bike. They're not motorcycles, to ride their little dirt bike, mountain bikes on
Pump track. Yeah. Oh yeah. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I mean, Carnation just did one,
Yeah.
We have one planned in Big Rock Phase 2.
Yeah.
But doesn't have to be, like, that could be dirt down there, it could be,
yeah.
So, yeah, I guess my ask for this group is in the realm of how you want to get community feedback, what makes sense to do, whether it's a survey that gives kind of an idea of like, here's the map, here are the things that, well, the county has told us they can do nothing. So let's start there. From the county's perspective is they will not do anything to the field. They will not build a bathroom. They will not build picnic facilities. In their mind, it is so encouraged that anything beyond maybe a small trail down to the Snoqualmie Valley trails, all that their environmental assessment from 2021 says. But when you look at the environmental assessment, that's not really true. When you look at the buffers, there's more that can be done there. So I don't know if a survey makes sense, kind of detailing it. It's fairly complicated. It feels like a touch and feel event, like you're down there, you see it, would be maybe more effective, but.
So first off, in order to get the boundary of that, is it just predominantly the grass field in the parking lot?
So in your packet, you have a couple maps of the environmental assessment. So it's not in the binder and it's online. So when we sent you the packet for the meeting, yeah, if you can open it up, Steve.
And the way I recall this years and years and years ago, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but there was like an organization that would build baseball fields for like little league, groups. And that originally the people that from this organization did a deal with King County to build a baseball field there for little league. And they used to play little league there. You guys have been here long as I can remember that. And then it was all wetlands, mitigation, concerns, and so no more baseball. So in King County's mind, when it went from being a baseball field to just a plot of green grass that someone's gonna mow, did they ever put out a long-term plan in terms of what they were gonna do with it?
No, what they did instead is this 2021 plan that's within your packet and that hopefully Steve can share. Basically, they did the opposite. They said, we haven't really done anything except for mow this grass. And it's a little self-serving because now it says, well, and we're not gonna do anything more because the environmental constraints say that we can't do anything more. So they didn't say, we have this long-term plan to do something with it because we think it's more wetland encroached than we originally thought. Instead, they let it go dormant and then said, oh, and by the way, we can't do anything.
And so what we really want, if I'm reading you correctly, is we want to nudge King County by having perhaps an event with a bunch of suggestions of what King County could do to this, which costs Duvall nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the argument that we've made to King County is, and again, I use the Snoqualmie Valley as the example. When you go through the Snoqualmie Valley, whether it's the Preston and Falls City, King County property, Carnation, Lutzis Park, I'm probably mispronouncing it. When you get into Snoqualmie, there are King County parks. When you get into North Bend, there are King County parks that are in unincorporated areas. This gets the least love and investment. And I don't know if it's solely because in 2021 they decided they didn't have to invest in it. But at some point, whether it's lack of investment in the trail, lack of investment in their park, not investing as a trade-off in Duvall parks for the little they invest here, more needs to be done from King County because we all pay into the King County Parks Network. We should have some amenity that we feel proud of from King County.
Where's Sarah? Harry on this.
Sarah is also waiting for us to tell her what we plan to tell King County. So Sarah is aware that this is on our list. And we also have a county legislative priorities document that includes advocating for parks. We've never in the city up until now have had a county specific legislative priority document that says our relationship to county in terms of what we will advocate for. It's new because we've gotten to a place where we feel like we need to have some stronger messaging about what our expectations are.
So one last question. So in terms of doing like something like a community event, are we gonna partner with King County on this? You know, we're gonna bring King County in with Duvall so they can see what the people of Duvall want, or is Duvall gonna just say, we're gonna do this, and then we'll write up a memo of understanding for the county?
So a month ago, the mayor and I had a meeting with King County Parks to talk about what we were going to do. And after we said, we don't want to wait for a county-wide assessment again. We told them that we're going to ask our community what they would like to see, and they are also waiting for us to provide them the feedback from the community.
Do you know if the water table is there? And if it's wetlands, then the whole area is a wetland, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So is the wetland defined by water table?
No, there's normally a handful of factors. Water is one of them,
See, there might
but it
be,
is floodplain too, so there's.
So that was flooded. And I apologize, I wasn't paying attention last flood, but was that flooded?
The parking lot, no. The field, no. How far up in the woods, I don't know. But it isn't, we could find the elevations.
So,
There are.
if I had a lot of money, I'd dig a big pond, put a trail around it with picnic tables. And would be, and you have the parking lot already, so you'd have a destination park for people outside of Duvall as well as Duvall.
With what tables?
I just put picnic tables in, but I would put it as a, I would dig a big pond, and then put a trail around it, so you could walk around it, you could have a picnic there. Oh, it would be a destination.
Being the wetland, a pond, and then.
Yeah.
Because it is I'm sure the water table's fine there.
I think that one of the problems was that when they put this in, and it's been 35 years, maybe something like that. They bulldozed the existing wetlands and took the soil and lifted it up to build the flat plane, because the actual baseball field sits up, probably 20 feet elevation higher than the wetland down below. So when you take soil like that and you just routinely put it up, you're gonna have issues with drainage. So since it's already been disturbed, the opportunity to do what you're saying, and you kind of more couch it in wetlands restoration, not pond, but wetland
Right.
restoration,
You kind of,
then you could get something like that.
So one of the charts shows, and I can't remember what page, but this was in your packet that was emailed to you. It shows a map of where the environmental assessment said like, this is buildable, this isn't buildable, and it's based on these color coded areas. So, you know, we would want to propose things only in the areas that were either previously built or are not in, can't remember what color they had it.
Least developable,
Yeah.
some development, and then most development potential. Yeah.
So the one thing that when I think about this park and when I think about the trail accessibility is a lot of times there isn't really a great place to park to be able to go on the trail. If this, because right now, this park, there's no sidewalks to it. Right. Like it's nowhere. There's no destination. Like there's no reason to go there.
No.
You can't even like that. There's nothing there, but if it at least had the path to the trail, it would give it some legitimacy because it kind of just seems like a big old wasted parking lot. The cop just did that. That's the only
Yeah,
thing
or the
that
two people you see running their dog occasionally.
yeah, it's just unfortunate that there's like the one thing that would actually give it a little bit of something would be if at least it connected to the trail. Because you get to a certain point, because I walk the trail a lot, you get to a certain point, you have to decide, okay, where am I going to turn around? Because if I don't go up now, I have to decide where to turn around because otherwise I hit, you know, the point where you're like, I don't want to cross here because everybody's crazy going around the roundabout. So then, you know.
What else? Just like the access that we're talking about for the Snoqualmie
Yeah,
Trail.
it can fit nicely together.
What makes your point really good is that the trail is a King County trail.
Yeah.
A King County land trailhead if King County needs to build. And I think you can bring that up and talk to King County in terms of, it'd be interesting to do a quick study in regards to the number of vehicles that are parked at all the trailheads, you know, that are on the trail. Because of one of your place, you know, the the Fish and Wildlife places. There's many times we've gone up there and they've been full, especially during hunting season.
Oh, sure.
So I think a lot of people park at McCormick Park for like multiple reasons. And if this could divert the traffic of people who are just parking it for the trailhead, it could free up a lot of spots in the McCormick Park or the Summer River. I think those parking spots are always gone.
Yeah.
But the interesting point about that too is that when you look and you do, you know, your analysis of the SVT, almost every trailhead that I think of right now is not a King County trailhead. City of Duvall trailhead, McCormick Park, the BF trails, even the private one through the condos, up there.
That one's public.
Yeah, it's public, but it's not King County.
No, sorry.
Yeah, that's the one that.
Okay, so in other words, the point is that where is the closest King County trailhead to a King County trail? Yeah.
Carnation, yeah.
Well, no, in Carnation, most people are at Lotus Park, that's Carnation Park. There's not a King County.
No, that's not a Carnation Park, that's a King County Park.
Oh,
Yeah, it happens to be in Carnation, but that's my point, is that King County maintains that park inside Carnation.
This wetland area, kind of like, can this be, like, I don't know, what I've not seen it there. Like after once I went there for a soccer and said, no, get hurt. Can this sort of like also use it like small mini farming projects? Like people can just pick up and the kids can, I don't know, some of the King Counties parcels are used for those. I don't know water and other availability, but
Little park in Red or something. They have.
yeah, like some of the wetlands, I think wetlands are good for some of those farming, some small mini, it can be like, I don't know, few acre
I don't know.
People rent the spot.
Yeah.
Is there
That's fine.
interest in the city for that? I mean, are residents asking for a P patch?
No, and we can't get them to take over the P
Yeah.
patch very
Yeah,
easily.
the current one.
Yeah,
is
we have a
Duvall
P patch
Food
here in case you
Yeah.
all didn't know at
Yeah.
Doherty Farm.
Farm.
But we don't have folks
Not enough.
pounding on our door to manage the P patch.
Right.
Okay, so anything more on that? I will design something to get the community out, maybe in conjunction with a Sunflower Festival or something like that where people are already here. And then bring it back to you all the first meeting in August to kind of say, based on what I've heard, this is the outreach strategy, but before I start thinking about that, coming back with the outreach strategy, is there anything else you'd all like to add?
Is it even plain enough to have movies in the park kind of event in summer?
In there?
Yeah. Or is it-
Well, we'd have to get a permit from King County, but you will get very wet if you have movies in the park. In Duvall Park, it's pretty swampy.
With the, I haven't been down in there for a while. I mean, my kids, when they were really little, we used to have, we had the baseball, but we also had during the summer, you know, when the little kid soccer.
Oh, like little
Yeah.
players would
Yeah.
come out.
Whatever they're called, right? Because you needed a small space because it got so swampy. Is there, so would this need to sort of be a boardwalk type connection to the King County Trail, which presents different opportunities along the
Right.
boardwalk, right? When
Yeah.
you think about that.
Totally.
It's a different, it's almost like when you walk and rev in the part that's more of an estuary kind of area. And I think it presents different learning opportunities, different kinds of things you can go on.
Yeah.
Definitely, there's a lot of birds and that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, Oxbow's got a lovely wetlands trail through their wetland area. Anyone wanted to check that out, but yeah, that would be such a nice thing.
Use a good destination for if you start in McCormick Park. And then you go there and then you do a loop around the wetland ponds that are building there, put some signage up, you know, for education purposes.
Yeah, town.
Yeah.
Because you're right now, you start at McCormick Park, I mean, or you're gonna turn around Nominee Road, right? You know, but.
Grandview Parks, I think they do some in that wetlands area where they also have those blueberry patches. I think they do the ranger walks just to cross to the wetlands and just educate kids about it. So I've taken my kids a couple of times back. I've been living in Bellevue. Like for the wetlands, the ecology changes.
Oh,
So, like,
yeah.
it's a good opportunity to sort of like educate
Oh,
kids and stuff.
Yeah, like where the Mercer Slough is.
Yeah.
right.
All right. Well, thank you. And the last thing on our agenda before we adjourn is good of the order, which is your opportunity to share out anything you all are interested in or add potential items for future agenda.
I think as we are learning about these communities in the park and what the ADA accessible or not, and we had the agenda for how do we engage different age groups with it. So I don't know if something we should discuss that. Like big projects, yes, but I think what I'm looking for is what can we get started with what we have and engagement and then improving what we have kind of thing. So what can we start doing kind of get our face out there, get some things going was my first thing. But we also work on this. Let's get King County to pay money, let's get levies and all.
So, so I think what I heard is what is one thing you can do as a Parks Commission immediately to get
Yeah,
out
but
there?
a few things we can get started on is what I was thinking, like, because then I think get our faces out there, people can start giving inputs and stuff, and then we can say, what can we do with what we already have? And make it most use of it. And it's summer times, I would say, in general, like once September to hits, people kind of. Yeah, as a native. So between now and like next July and then August and something, can we do something or should we do something? Is what I want to do.
Well, I think doing something at Big Rock might be the best place to start. because that is amongst the parks that has the least attention to it. So that might be a place to kind of begin. Because as you go through the other parks, you know, if anything strikes your fancy, but a lot of them are kind of fairly well attended, to either from a maintenance perspective. But, you know, if anybody has an idea and it's something different to start with. I picked Big Rock because one, the mayor's interested in it, and two, it's the one I think that's the most blank slate in terms of what could be done down there. I don't know if that answers your question. I'm not sure that I understand what you're
Yeah, I'm
asking.
just looking for like, we have discussed a lot of ideas which are like forward looking, convince county to do something, but I'm like, what can we do at something which is like, just get going. I don't have any special thing, but I saw things like, hey, how do we bring the attention of like ADA plan, like what can we get started? We have like,
that up. So-
what the elders and kids, like, what can we get going now, so that before
Like
people
a
hibernate, they
volunteer,
know about the, they know about the parks and we can get started. And then you don't lose the connection. Right now, people are out, like if you want to ask them, hey, come show up here, they will. But if we plan for it in September, then we get into this hibernation period, we won't get much beyond some sunny weekdays. So what can we do to capitalize on this next 6 to 8 weeks is what I was trying to ask.
Sounds like there's a subcommittee forming.
Well, yeah, I think we're saying is like, how do we get our faces in front of you?
You're right.
Like, let them know we're here.
Yeah.
Let's start the conversation.
Yeah, and with some easy problems like the ETA or like getting maybe something for the seniors, maybe get started, something on there, so.
I think one of the things that we brought up over and over again with the open space was that we need a friends group. You know, and it's not just because we get people going out and doing labor. I mean, this community, there's a lot of people who would jump in there right away. When you write grants, you know, for the state, you have to show that you have in-kind donations, and friends groups are like one of the, you know, the no-brainers of it. Everyone gets to do, you know, gets to be held that. And I think, you know, what the point you're bringing up about, we gotta get working on this. Maybe at the next meeting, we should really kind of think about how that's organized, what's there, because, you know, it can be organized outside of the city, but with a liaison to the city, you know, some liability concerns and issues, how you know, communicate, you know, those things. The other thing that I would just mention from the messaging here, I think we really think about the grant cycle. And especially for, you know, getting it in for the next legislative session, and especially on trails, now that we have, you know, the open space, you know, deal done. I think some really good opportunities for it, and that's a discussion that perhaps you and I can have, so we can put together, because if you look at the rubric for how we score the trails, you have to hit, you know, 7 different items, and it fits into all 7, you know, where they really want to, it's a greater chance. And this, the last thing I was going to mention is, you know, for the basis of this group, there's a lot of there's a lot of folks who live in this town who could get really big resources. And so, for example, having lived here, taught, but it's interesting to think back of like Sammamish, right? So you go back 35 years, Sammamish is Duvall, and you know, same kind of demographics that it's out there. And in that 35-year period, it put together a series of different plans, you know, with due dates that led to the vision that it has a very, very good park system. It has, you know, all kinds of benefits that that brings to the tax base, you know, as well. One of the directors of Sammamish lives here in Duvall, and it would be interesting to see if she could come and talk about the history of how Sammamish became Sammamish and how their Parks Commission, you know, worked, how they decided to pass levies, you know, all of those kind of things.
Yeah.
Steve and I both have some experience with Sammamish. I lived in Sammamish before I came here, and Steve worked for Sammamish.
Yes.
So,
I'm trying to think of who you know, but
Yeah.
I think she laughed.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think she's. What was it? Yeah.
So it's Anita. Last name, yeah.
Well, then you guys have experience. Maybe you know something bring into.
so part of the revenue discussion was also to talk about grant. So when we come back to with the agenda item for revenue, it's going to be how we fund parks now, what development fees cover, what grants we apply for traditionally, what grants we look at where we have applied for and didn't get accepted and why, and then levy funding. So we'll bring kind of a package of how we fund parks projects back. So we can do that. And then the cycle, because we generally know the cycle for King County and the cycle for state grants. So we can do that and bring that back as a project. You know, the first few meetings of any commission is to kind of figure out what your why is. Like, why are you here? What do you want to work on? And so between the meeting from June and the meeting today is for us to take notes on trying to build something that you all can then take and do something with. So that's why this has been a little bit of an open conversation of what do you all want to see? What agenda items do you want? So we can build, whether you call it a work plan or a working agenda of what are the projects you want to take on and do something with. You know, I just picked a couple, but I think I probably have enough notes that by August we can kind of hand you something and you all can take it and form subcommittees or do something with. Yeah, I mean, I think after the first two meetings, we have a pretty good idea of what you want to learn about. And what you need to know in terms of background information to then move some stuff forward.
Sounds good, sounds.
We hear energy. So that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we have stuff to work on.
Any other thoughts or your opinions?
Do you have something? Okay. All right, with that, we will adjourn the July 6th meeting at 7:52.